This is Adriana. I am super excited to have you here today. Why don't you go ahead, tell me a little bit about your business and how you got started and what you do.
Yeah, so I currently run Ava and the Bee. We are a marketing company for wedding professionals. I got started in the wedding business at 17, just working like retail. When I was in college, I opened a wedding planning, bridal boutique, and florist company. So we were kind of like an all-in-one shop. We planned weddings and ran a boutique, and it was a little crazy. So I did that for quite a few years. And just realized that I hadn't had a weekend off in probably 8 years at that point. I was about 9 years into the wedding industry and just needed to do something a little different. So I decided to sell my shares of the business. It's still owned and operated by the other owner. And I kind of got into the whole marketing virtual assistant thing by accident. I just had a lot of wedding vendor friends that were like, hey, you don't run the boutique and you don't plan weddings anymore, but you know marketing, can you help me? And one thing led to another. And within a few months, I was quitting my 9-to-5 and doing this. So here we are 4 years later. So I've been doing this since 2017. Officially 2018 was when I actually officially became a business. But yeah, we focus on a lot of content marketing, SEO focus, blogging, Pinterest. You name it, I've probably done it for a wedding pro. So we work with a lot of planners and photographers, and it's been really great. Yeah.
SEO, what is it? 101. Give us the details.
Yeah. So SEO is one of those things that I remember when I was back when I was a wedding planner, and I every time this Facebook memory comes up, I laugh, and it's literally me on Facebook asking, how do I get on Google? So this is like a decade of just me trying to figure it out. But SEO is simply search engine optimization, as we know, but it's simply keywords. So the way that Google and SEO work are simply keywords. Keywords are those terms that you plug into Google when you're searching for anything, right? If you're looking for Chinese restaurant, Chinese dinner near me, whatever basic search terms, those are going to be what considers your keywords. So that is how Google really figures out who you are and what you do. And it truly is just that simple at the very basic. Is just what keywords are you putting on your website and what keywords are you talking about again and again. And that's how we create that strategy. So it's one of those things where it's a marathon, not a sprint. I think a lot of times when wedding pros especially hear Google and SEO, they're like, oh my God, I need to be on the first page tomorrow. And the answer is that's not possible, because it does take a while. And being the first page doesn't actually mean 100 million results, right? A lot of times the first page, you're actually competing with ad spend. So what you are really trying to do is create a long-term consistency with it. So one of the first steps when it comes to thinking about, okay, I have a website, what now? Is write down what are those keywords and think of them as local specific. One of the biggest things that I see a lot of wedding planners do is they don't think of local SEO, right? They're like, oh, so for example, I was a wedding planner in Savannah, Georgia. We did mostly destination. So at first we were like, why would someone search for a wedding in Savannah if they're not sure they're going to do it there, they don't live there? But the answer is they are, right? If you're doing a destination wedding, they're looking for the city that you're in. So you need to make sure you make it really clear the area that you serve. You also need to keep it really, really simple. So one thing that photographers will do is fine art, emotional photography. No one's searching for that. Couples don't care. They're looking for a photographer in XYZ city, right? And then they're going to look at your aesthetic. For a planner, they're not looking for, at my company, we did very bohemian, very green wedding shoes. No one was looking up a bohemian wedding planner, and they had no idea what that meant. They were looking for a wedding planner in Savannah, Georgia. And then if they liked our portfolio, then they got a feel for our work. So our biggest thing is, what are those keywords that we're going to bring them onto our website with, right? They need to be very simple and to the point. So thinking of XYZ sitting wedding planner should be something that is on your website. When you're coming up with maybe slightly different keywords, you're like, okay, I get that part of it.
Right, because there are a million blogs, right, Savannah, tons of wedding planners. You're competing against those same keywords as everyone else, right?
Exactly. So the way that you're going to help increase that, and I'll talk about this too, is consistently creating content. So the reason why certain people are going to be on earlier pages of Google are A, their website's been around forever, or B, they're continuously updating their website. Google wants to see that you are creating fresh, relevant content because their job as a consumer platform is to get the best results. So if they don't think that your website is answering the right questions, they're not going to show it as high. It's really as simple as that. So one of those things is where that can come in and focus on blogging. So that's kind of another topic I can dive on to. But when you're thinking of keywords and all of those things, when you're thinking of that competition, it really is going to be about creating a lot of content, even if it's like one blog a month, is still outdoing your competitors, right? Because a lot of people aren't utilizing that free SEO.
They hate blogging. I know. I get so much pushback on blogging. I was like, it's the best thing for your business.
It is. It really is. It really is, because if you're trying to bring in that organic traffic without paying for ads, the easiest way, and you can do all this back-end SEO that you pay someone for, but if you are not consistently doing some of these things like blogging, it's not going to matter. You're going to get up high and you're going to start dropping, because we see that a lot where someone will say, I paid someone $8,000 to keyword my website. And then after 8 months, they're gone. And it's like, well, because you didn't do anything after. Like, we're hot for a minute, but Google was like, wait, they're not an expert anymore. Why would I show them?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I know. I was a Pensacola wedding planner for many, many years, and I blogged I cannot tell you how much I blogged. I'm no longer in that area, and I'm still getting referral traffic from it. Yeah. Like, people are like, I'm getting married at this venue, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I no longer work in that area, but here's somebody who does. And so, yeah, it works.
It really does, yeah. And I think it's also one of those things that you don't have to necessarily pay someone a ton of money to do it for you, right? So when it comes to your website SEO, there's always a few basic things that as long as you have them, you're going to be okay. And especially when you're first starting out your business. So a few things that are really important for SEO keywords, there's a few places you need to make sure you have them, and you don't have to pay anyone for this. You can do this right after this call. It'll take you like 20 minutes. So first is that you're going to make sure on your website, very up towards the top. So I'm not talking when you scroll down, I'm saying before they call it before the fold in like a newspaper, but it's the same thing for website design. You need to have what you do, who you serve, and where you're located. So many wedding planners out there just assume that if they put up pretty pictures that people are going to know what they do. And I look at websites all day for my job, right? Like, this is all I do all day. And I, as a professional with a decade of experience, sometimes can't tell if someone's a photographer, a florist, or a planner, because they don't say it anywhere. It's just a whole bunch of pretty images. And at that point, it could literally be anything, right? So make sure you have it very clear. I'm a wedding planner in Savannah, Georgia, servicing, you know, romantic couples or indoor weddings or tented weddings or something. You just need to make sure you have that, and it needs to be very high up on your page. And the reason for that is A, Google reading it, but also B, your couples. If they don't know instantly what you do and who you serve, they will click off your website.
Yeah. And
that's really important. That's something you can do right now. And I know with a lot of templates, it might not look as pretty, but a pretty website doesn't book leads, right? Like, pretty websites are cool, but if your website isn't converting, it can be the most gorgeous website, but it's not actually doing you any service. So that would be my first thing, is look at your website. Does it state that immediately? If it doesn't, just go fix that right now. I promise it's going to help you with your bounce rates. And the second thing is when it comes to things like meta titles and meta descriptions. Again, I know it sounds like, what? These are simply you telling Google what your page is about. So depending on the website platform, I'm not going to get like super technical, but you guys can just reach out to me and ask, tell me what your platform is, and I'll give you an article that will tell you how to change it in like 2 seconds. You just want to make sure that every page states like a title and a description of that page. So if it's your wedding planning packages page, you need to make sure it has like wedding planning packages for Savannah weddings. See, like, you need to make sure there's keywords. A lot of websites I see won't have any keywords anywhere other than the home page. And the problem is Google is indexing all your pages. Your home page is important, but so is your services, so is your contact page. So those are kind of a few things that you can do this afternoon. Like I said, if you have a specific website, I can send you quick tutorials I have on how to do it in like 5 minutes. But that's going to be kind of those first big things, is make sure that you have on your homepage who you do, where you're located, and then make sure you're adding some of those keywords onto the actual pages itself as well.
Alt tags. What about alt tags?
Ah, yes, yes. Okay, so alt tags are kind of one of those interesting things because it's actually kind of changing right now. So alt tags are what you name your images. So whenever you upload an image, it shouldn't be image number 127, which is what it probably is right now. You need to make sure it's worded, right? So alt tags, for the simplest point, are for visually impaired. If an image cannot show up on a website for any reason, or if the person has visually impaired, like things on their computer that like help read for them, it's going to read what the image is. So a bride holding a bouquet would say, bride holding, you know, colorful bouquet with peonies, blah, blah, blah. You want to make sure it's descriptive. Now, the trick to this is you want to make sure it's descriptive, but also has some keywords. So one big mistake I see is that a lot of wedding professionals will just keyword stuff, which Google is now getting very good at noticing. And what I mean by that is every single image and every single page will say Savannah Wedding Planner, Savannah Wedding Planner, and just not describe the image. The problem with that is Google is extremely smart, and they are now understanding that that's what the gurus told you to do 5 years ago, and they're now saying, actually, that's not good anymore. So the way to get around that is to have a lot of your images have some of those keywords, but not every single one has to. If it is a bride holding a bouquet with peonies and anemones by Cato Floral Design, that should be the title. Because it's okay if you're including another vendor that's in your area in the title, because again, it's connecting you, right?
Right.
Or if it is a wedding at a certain venue, you can say intimate summer wedding at XYZ venue by Savannah Wedding, like by your business name. So there's ways for you to get those keywords in without like having to put every single keyword. And this is the same for blogging. So whether it's your blog or gallery, you do want some keywords, but it's okay if not every single one has a very relevant keyword, because Google now knows that if it sees those same keywords continuously, it's now knowing, oh, okay, this person might not actually be an expert. They might just be trying to keep the system.
That's really interesting, because I do that when I do in my blogging, and I have my Pinterest pin picture.
Yeah.
You kind of like stuff it there, so when people click and it goes, you know, so that's interesting. So I should change that.
Yeah, and that's something that we've been doing, I would say even the last year has been bigger. So this is all kind of like new and changing, which is why it's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we're training our copywriters on our team, it's like, okay, half of them should have a keyword. The other half, it's okay if they don't, because you're still describing the image and you're still within it. Now, for something like a Pinterest pin, there are a few plugins you can do that allow you to enter that in so it's not super spammy. But for Pinterest pins, it's okay because you do want it to pull up. But yeah, you just want to make sure that not every single image is the same nowadays, because that's just where Google's starting to outsmart us.
Okay. Yeah. And it's funny, I do shop a lot via Google Images. Like the other day I was looking for, because I'm so tired of seeing the ads, you know, on the pages. I'm like, just Google image, and then I kind of go from there, and it's kind of fun.
Yeah. And it's a huge part of SEO are those images. When I was a planner and owned a bridal boutique, one of the reasons we were able to scale so fast was we figured that out by chance. No one told us that. It was literally, holy cow, when you search Savannah Wedding Planner and Savannah Bridal Boutique, it's all us in the images because no one else was doing it. So people were like, how are you on the first page and you just opened 6 months ago? Because we took advantage of keywording some of those images. Not all, but enough to then, and that's again where blogging comes in, right? We have consistent blogs, consistent images, and that's where a lot of couples are searching now. And Pinterest, which is a whole nother topic, but yeah.
All right, so our group is full of new wedding planners, aspiring wedding planners. Where is the best place to put your marketing energy, do you feel? I know we talked about blogging, a little bit of push. I say the same thing too. Okay.
Well, here's why. And I understand Instagram's huge. Y'all, like, I get it. Trust me. Like, I just got married 2 weeks ago. Oh my God, like 2 weeks ago. Sounds crazy. Thank you. I just got married and I found my venue from Instagram, and I got married in a city where I've planned over 180 weddings. And I still found a place that I was like, I haven't planned there before. So like Instagram is big, yes. But here's the thing. You don't own Instagram. And if it goes away, you don't own it. So and that's not helping with your SEO really. Like Instagram doesn't really help with your SEO as much as we want it to. So the biggest thing that you can do that is, I mean, pretty much you can do it yourself for free, right? You don't even have to outsource it right away, is blogging. So like I mentioned earlier, Google's goal for SEO is to find authority figures. And how they do that is through consistent content. Now, you don't want to you're not going to update your website every week, right? No, you're going to blog. So blogging, is going to allow that to be that fresh, new, relevant content. So whenever it comes to content marketing and where to put your apples or all your apples in a basket, I always start our strategy with our clients blogging before social media. And the reason is, if all you did was just post Instagram pictures of like, book me today, and you didn't educate and you didn't inform your clients, they're not going to pay you money. They're not going to book you. Couples this day are getting way more savvy and way more connected. They truly want to book you for a connection. And how you can build that is through larger pieces of copy like a blog. So the way we tell our clients is your first piece of content is a blog. You then break that blog down into Instagram posts. You don't go the other way around, right? Because if you have a 500-word blog, that can be 5 Instagram posts, 5 pieces of connection content. That's without twiddling your, sitting there for an hour thinking of 5 Instagram captions. Crap, like how many times can I talk about a bouquet? You do a blog post on seasonal flowers for a bouquet. There you go. That's 500 topics right there. So what we suggest is that consistent blogging. So in terms of blogging, you don't necessarily have to do it every single week. Even just once a month or twice a month is going to help push that needle. And I can almost guarantee your competition, most of them aren't doing it yet. Like, I feel like we hear it all the time.
Right.
Every time I work with a new client, I do very deep competition analysis. And I love it because I'm like, yeah, no one's blogging in your competition. Sorry. So we're fine. Like, I know we have a competitive advantage. So I would suggest trying to really consistently blog, especially if you're newer. Especially within your first year, at least twice a month, if not every week, because your goal is to really drive that force home with your new website, right? Your goal is to say, Google, I'm new, but I know what I'm talking about, and my people love me, and they're sitting on my website. And blogs keep people on your website, right? If they're reading it and they're on there for a minute and a half, that's huge in website terms. And like if someone is on your website for more than like 2 minutes, it is like the holy grail of SEO. So why not keep them on there, right? So one more super quick tip on that is you have to have copy and not just images. This is more for like, I know this is a planners group, but I have seen some planners be guilty of this where they just post a pretty wedding. You have to have copy because Google is going to read that before it reads the alt tags and images. Google is going to index your copy before anything. So have at least 300 to 500 words in a blog post and then do your images.
Okay. And I know you talk a lot about Pinterest. I see a lot of you do a lot of Pinterest, and I know like a lot of newer wedding planners want to use Instagram. Why would you suggest Pinterest?
So Pinterest is another great tool that can also help with long-term SEO. So Pinterest is really great for localized content, connecting your local audience, and then also for SEO, because the way Pinterest works is just like Google. Pinterest is a keyword platform. It delivers images based on keywords, simply. So while Instagram is great, and I think you should be on it for sure, if you are looking to expand maybe your localized SEO, Pinterest can be another really great free or very inexpensive platform to go ahead and put your time towards. So Pinterest is wonderful because it actually wants users to go off the platform. So Instagram wants to keep you on it, right? There's a reason why it's very hard for someone to find your website. There's a reason why there's a tiny little link, and there's a reason why the swipe up feature isn't for everybody, right? It's monetary. They want people on Instagram and on Facebook. Pinterest is very different in that they actually want you as the user to get off the website, to go to someone else's website. So that's one of the great reasons of Pinterest is that it's encouraging users to actually go to your website, right? Instead of you desperately trying to get them to click on your link in bio, Pinterest makes it very easy for someone to do that. So that's one of the reasons why Pinterest can be really great is, obviously weddings are super, super strong on there, but it's also going to allow you to, like I said, connect locally. So if someone's planning a wedding in your city, How amazing would it be if a ton of your images came up, right? If you were constantly being in front of them and showcasing your work outside of just a single Instagram post. You know, on Pinterest, you can post 10 images a day or something. Like, that's a much bigger chance of someone seeing your work than Instagram, where you're really relying on an interesting algorithm that's changing daily. So you might get one post a month in front of your audience. On Pinterest, you have like a dozen opportunities a day. So it really just kind of helps increase that reach. So that's one of the reasons we like to use it if you're blogging. Now, if you're not blogging and you're never creating new content, Pinterest just isn't gonna work. It's just not a strategy. Do something else, that's totally fine. We suggest at least 1 or 2 blogs a month because, again, Pinterest is about new and fresh content. So unfortunately, some of our clients just don't want to blog. I mean, not my clients anymore, but like some people just don't want to blog. That's fine. Then maybe you don't do Pinterest. But if you are consistently blogging and you're looking to make a bigger impact, then I would suggest adding Pinterest as one of your things. In terms of like scheduling, you can use a third-party platform called Tailwind. That's the one we use just because it's one of the few like vendor, like Pinterest approved ones. It's relatively inexpensive and they have a free version and it will automatically schedule your pins out because a lot of times clients are like, I'm not going to pin 10 times a day, Adriana. Like, no. Well, the answer is you don't have to. You get a platform that does it for you and then they pin it out for you. Yeah, so Pinterest is naturally ebbing and flowing. So one of the first things we tell our clients when we're working with them is your numbers are going to go up and down, right? So I can quadruple your views, but that doesn't mean every month it's going to be quadrupled because it is seasonality. So this time of year is slightly lower because it's back to school fall time. Mm-hmm. The holidays is the lowest for weddings. It will pick back up in engagement season. So ebbing and flowing is super, super normal. Another thing to consider with Pinterest that is you might not realize you're getting leads from it. So a lot of times people will say, I found you on Instagram. Did they actually find you on Instagram or did they click on a pin to go to your website to find your Instagram? Because I get that a lot in my business where they're like, oh, I actually think I saw one of your pins. So it's one of those things that will every single type of planner do amazing? Not necessarily. We have like a few planners that we work with that are very luxury. And their type of client, if they have $100,000 budget, probably aren't on Pinterest, right? Because they're not like, they're probably not on Pinterest if they have a tented wedding in New Hampshire. But so some clients, it just doesn't work, right? So that's a client that we tried it and we had to be like, hey, I just don't think your audience is super hot on it. I just think they're past that like point, of their wedding planning.
So it's really important to know where your target market is hanging out.
Exactly. And what cities? Some cities just don't perform as well on Pinterest and some styles don't perform as well on Pinterest. But it's one of those things to just test out and give it at least 3 to 6 months, just like anything. I feel like in marketing, if you don't give it at least 3 to 6 months, you don't know if it's actually a good ROI. But give it a few months, check your Google Analytics and say, hey, is this worth it or not?
Right. All right. Yeah, Google Analytics, super important. Got to install that.
Oh my God, so important. Google Analytics is just, I know it's overwhelming, but it is the most important marketing tool you can ever have, and it's free. And if you're going to learn anything in your business, you just have to learn it. Even the basic, like you even have to know just 5 or 6 of the numbers, and your business will grow exponentially.
Yeah. Definitely great advice. So the 3 most important must-dos before you start marketing your business.
Ooh, I love this. Okay, so a few things other than Google Analytics, which I know have my client, we run analytics reports for our clients because most of them are like, I know they're important, but I don't want to read it. But I will say if you're new, it was the best thing I ever did in my business, honestly. So other than that, the first important thing is to know your client. So it kind of goes into how we were talking about Pinterest. You really need to know who your couple is, right? I know we hear about this all the time, but a lot of our disconnect that we see when we're working with new clients in marketing, even people who have been doing this for a decade, is they don't actually know who their couple is. They kind of think they do, and then we're like, no, but really, who's your ideal couple? And they're like, oh, I don't know, they just get married. No.
Anybody who has a paycheck, a check is willing to pay me.
Yeah. That's not really it. When you first start, sometimes it is, but you need to at least have an idea. What's motivating them for the wedding, right? What is their ideal budget? What are the most important things they want at their wedding? Where are they at in their life when they get married? Are they right out of college? Are they 30? Like, I got married at 30. My wedding now is very different than if I gotten married at 23, right? Like, they're just different types of clients. So you need to start thinking about that. And when you first get started, it's harder, I know, because you might not have that average. But think of like who your ideal client would be. Maybe to your client, the most important thing are details, 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 right? Music is whatever, transportation is whatever, but they want the gorgeous stationery, the perfect accessories, and a style me pretty layout. Okay, that's good to know, because how you're going to market to that client is going to be very different than the client who maybe wants a different type of experience for their couple. So think about that. So when you start your business, you know, you're going to be tempted to kind of take on all of those projects, and that's fine. But start to get a feeler as you do those projects. What did you love about them? What were the details of their wedding that stood out to you that made you go, I want that person again? And it's not just money, right? It's like they wanted a cool mac and cheese bar. My client wants super fun, unique things. That's a different client than my client wants to be on the cover of Martha. So the first thing is just know who the heck you want to talk to. And the second is to be thinking about your messaging. What is your voice across the board? Because as you start writing, you're going to be writing and your voice is going to become louder. What do you want your voice to sound like? What do you want your messaging, especially if we ever get into in-person networking again? How are you going to want to communicate that? What is your mission and value? What are those things that you're connecting with your client? So again, it can be the type of wedding. So when I was a planner, we did very unique, very bohemian, like super out there weddings. So we talked that way, right? We were casual. We weren't super stuffy. We talked about those weird details that our couple like collected spiders or something weird. Like that's what we talked about. But if you're looking for a different client, like how are you going to get that messaging? So, and then all of that is to say that the third thing, after you figured out kind of your messaging and your tone of voice and kind of how you're going to convey that to the world, is you need to have a website that works for you. So this goes all back to SEO, goes all back to Google. Beautiful websites are wonderful. I love Show It. I build websites on Show It all the time. If it's not performing though, is it worth it? So what I mean by this is you need to have your conversion happening on your website. Instagram DMs are cool, Pinterest is cool, blogging is cool, but are they actually converting and booking a call with you? In your DMs doesn't mean they're going to book a call with you. How are we getting them to actually be like, yes, I'm committing my time and I want to learn more about you? So that's where we get into, does your website state who you know, what you do, who you serve, where you're located? Is it obvious the packages you offer? As a planner, you could offer so many things, right? Do you do day of? Do you full planning? Do you just design? What are the differences? Our couples don't really know the differences between a design and planner. They don't. Like they just don't, right? Like how are they supposed to know? They've never done it before. How are they supposed to know that your design package doesn't include certain things? You know, you want to make sure that it's very clear on your website what they're looking for. That also helps in that conversion, right? Because if you hop on a call and you focus on one type of design and they don't want that and they want a day of planner and you don't offer it, well then you've obviously miscommunicated on your website. You also want to make sure like what is going to stand you apart from the competition, right? What does your competition do? And what on your website is going to stand out to tell them that you're different? Is it certain details that you do? is it certain venues you work at? Is it certain vendor relations you have? And the most important part is have an email address, please. Contact forms are wonderful. They don't work 90% of the time. Like, you know, you got to have an email address on your website somewhere. I always suggest in the footer. You need to make sure that it's so easy to contact you that they don't even think twice. So if you have these super long pages that go on for days and days and days about what you do, and you don't have any call to actions, no one's going to contact you. We need to make it very clear what the next step is. Is that a discovery call? Or whatever you call it, like what is that next step? And make sure it's super apparent why that step is important. So that way, you know, are you customizing a package? Like what is it? I will say, and this is more recent, starting at pricing, I don't know how you feel about it. I get asked all the time. I'm in a ton of Facebook groups with couples. And the overall consensus the last 3 or 4 months that is very loud is, why does no one in the wedding industry put their pricing?
I'm all about it. recommended 100%, at least
Okay,
a
good.
starting point, at least a
I
starting
just
point.
wanted to make sure before I dove into my, please have at least a starting that you weren't like, no, that's terrible. Because some coaches don't love it, but
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
Like I started working with a florist recently who I contacted for my own wedding. I have worked with her for 9 years and didn't realize she started at $30,000 for her flowers.
Whoa.
And she's like, no, we're not getting any conversions. I'm like, do you tell anyone where you start at? No, her website's very simple. I would have no idea that she started at 30,000. Like, that's why you're helping on these calls. I think starting out is great. I think it's important to be transparent with that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you want to give yourself some leeway to kind of adjust according to the client, but yeah, having a starting range is really important.
Yeah, and I think it helps normalize the industry as well. I think the problem that we're seeing a lot of disconnect between couples and wedding pros right now is there's just this huge like question gap, right? Like why do we cost so much? That's probably gonna be your number one inquiries. I can't afford it. Well, we have to be explaining it, right? We have to be explaining in our marketing why you pay someone $2,000 or
sharing your value. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. You're so knowledgeable. It was really nice having you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
And I think you're in the Facebook group, so if anybody has any questions, I'll just tag you and you can answer.
Oh, yeah. Any questions on marketing or anything at all, I would love to help.
All right. Well, I will see you on the other side. See you somewhere else, I'm sure. You're everywhere.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.